Hi, welcome to the first module of the Learning and Evaluation ETO training. This is the first of 4. My name is Charlie. I'm a Learning and Evaluation Specialist here at LAYC, and I'm excited to go through Mod 1 with you all. So let's get started. Module 1 is going to be just a general overview of what data management looks like at LAYC. So we'll go over how to submit a ticket if you need help with data entry. We'll go over some data security best practices, and we'll go over just generally some ideas about why we're collecting data and how we use that data once it's collected. So let's get started. The objectives of the trainings, the training for new users is modules 1 through 4. And the objectives of that training is A, to understand the importance of timely and accurate data collection, and B, to learn how to use our database, which is efforts to outcomes. We'll refer to it a lot as ETO, including how to enroll participants, enter participant data. Any work that you're doing with clients at LAYC will show you how to record that in ETO. So some background on ETO. Again, it stands for Efforts to Outcomes. It's LAYC's data collection and reporting software. It's a web-based database, so you can access it anywhere online. We've been using ETO for a little over 10 years. We're working toward having all programs at LAYC collect data for their participants in ETO. And the reason for that is so that we can get a good picture of how many people the organization serves each year, how well we're serving them, what best practices from programs we could move from one place to another. The third point for ETO background is that it helps us manage the data we need in order to learn about where our programs are doing well and how we can improve. So any data that goes into ETO can come out of ETO. Part of our job in the Learning and Evaluation department is to make sure that the reports that are coming out are useful to you. And then the last point is that our team is continually working to improve ETO in order to address data collection challenges. So sometimes there's maybe a clunky data entry process. Always feel free to tell us about that, because part of our work here is to make sure that it's easy for you to collect data in ETO and it's easy for you to get data out in order to make decisions about your programs. So the role of the L&E team, specifically when it comes to ETO and then some evaluative things. Again, L&E stands for Learning and Evaluation. So part of what we do is ETO training, support with ETO, design of ETO. We also support program design and implementation by sort of supplementing that planning process with evidence-based research about what works well for youth and sort of what are the innovative, cutting-edge sort of program activities that we could bring into LAYC to help serve our youth in the best ways. We also build out useful reports in ETO software so that you can make important decisions. And we also conduct quantitative and qualitative analyses to help managers and directors assess program effectiveness. So that could look like running statistics on pre and post tests, or it could look like interviews and focus groups with program participants just to support the data that we're getting in ETO. So why collect data at all? The answer comes in 2 forms. The first is so that we can answer the question, what is working well in this program? The second is so that we can say, we can look at a program and say, what adjustments could we make to make this work even better? So maybe program A has this really great way of engaging with youth, and we can see in ETO from the data we've collected that their attendance rates are higher, their enrollment rates are higher. We can think about how we can use models like that seem to be working and bringing results, how we can move that to another program. So LAYC has a data entry policy. Before I go through this, your individual program may have a different policy than this one. If that is the case, or if you think it might be the case, or if you're not sure, talk to your program manager or the director of your department to see how often you should be putting data into ETO. But in general, across all programs, data has to be in ETO at least on a monthly basis. So the policy as it stands right now is that all data entry for the previous month should be entered by the 15th of the current month. So if it's October 15th, that means that that's the due date for all data from September to be entered in ETO. If you have any questions about sending or about data entry, if you have questions about a report, if you're not sure about something in ETO, you can always submit a support request form. The learning and evaluation specialists answer these requests, and it helps us. The reason we ask you to do it in a form and not as an email or just coming up to our office is so that we can keep track of what tickets are coming in. If we see a lot of tickets with the same issue, maybe there's a bigger issue that we need to address in ETO. It also helps us prioritize work. So if one person comes in and has forgotten their password and can't log in versus another person who notices a misspelling somewhere, we need to be able to prioritize people getting access to the system. And then secondly, we'll address errors that are less of a priority. So I'll walk you through how to submit a support ticket in ETO. What you'll want to do is go to LAYC's website. It's layc-dc.org. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom and go to the staff corner, sometimes it'll ask you for a password. The password to the staff corner is Columbia. If you ever forget that, it's in the slides we have here, but also ask one of your coworkers. They would know. So if you go to the internal communications section, there's a place here for ETO ticketing form. If you click on that, it'll pull up a Google form. And notice that this is signed in under my LAYC account. If you're not logged into your Gmail account, when you open this, it'll say, do you want to sign in as such and such at layc-dc.org? Say yes, and that'll make sure that we know who to contact if we have any follow-up questions or to let you know that we've addressed the situation in ETO. So make sure that you're signed in when you are filling out this form. And then once you have the form open, you'll pick whether it's a low priority, medium priority, or high priority issue, the type of issue, what program you're working in. And once you have that, you can click next and just work your way through the form, giving as much detail as possible about the situation that you're having trouble with in ETO. And that helps us not have to go back and forth with you and be able to fix it as quickly as possible. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about data security. So ETO is designed to safely and privately store participant data. The software meets an array of security standards, but it's compliant with HIPAA, which means that we can collect health records in it. It's also compliant with FERPA, which means we can collect education records in it. So the system itself is secure, but there are some best practices that we're going to talk about at the end of this module coming up so that we can make sure that participant data is as safe as possible. So one of the things that we've done on the back end of ETO is we've configured the system to ask you to reset your password every 120 days. The reason for this is if your password is saved on your computer and then someone sits down and it somehow magically gets to the ETO login page, we want to make sure that we're limiting the amount of access that people have to the system if they're not supposed to. So if you've written your password down somewhere and someone finds it, we just want to make sure that regularly we're asking folks to reset that password in case for some reason it's written down and you can't find it. Another best practice for data security is that if you can help it, Don't write your password down on a Post-it note and put it in your desk. Try not to write it in a journal or a notebook that you keep at work. And also don't share your ETO login with anyone. If someone needs access to ETO and they don't have it yet, you can submit a support ticket, you can talk to your manager, and they can come talk to us about what programs that person needs access to. Make sure that your login is only your login. And that, again, just helps us make sure that people's data is safe. If you ever forget your password, you can always send us a support ticket through the staff corner that we just talked about. And then here's some guidelines of just how to make sure to keep participant data as confidential as possible. First, don't access ETO from public Wi-Fi or from public computers because the networks are less safe. Second, don't download participant data and save it on a flash drive. Don't save it on your desktop or any other physical hard drive. So say you save a bunch of records on a flash drive, you lose your keys, the flash drive was on your keys, then anybody has access to those records who picks up your keys and plugs in that flash drive. So make sure that if you download it, even if you're working from home, if you download it, make sure you delete any downloaded data when you're done with the work you're doing. If you print a physical copy of a report and it has information that could help anybody identify participants, if it has names, addresses, ages, make sure to shred that when you don't need it anymore. And then also always log out of ETO when you're done with the work you're doing or if you have to step away from your computer. So that's all for Mod 1, just a basic general overview and some best practices. We'll talk more in Module 2 about sort of the basics of navigation of ETO and how to get in there and use it and move around in it. And we'll see you there.